Hello and welcome to The Big Fight, where this evening we are going to be discussing the NRI phenomenon. Well, NRI has very much been in the headlines. For starters, the Prime Minister has been making all of these trips abroad with these absolutely sold-out performances before crowds of NRIs all shouting and chanting. In fact, some uncharitable people will say that the Prime Minister is almost in the danger of becoming an NRI himself. But NRIs out there, very much a center of discourse in a manner that they haven't been. Their economic interest in India is rising. Their investments are being sought for. They're playing a massive role on social media. As anybody who ever gets onto Twitter, 2/3 of the people who seem to be writing into you, positively or negatively, seem to be NRIs. So what exactly is this NRI phenomenon? What sort of a role are they playing and should they be playing in India? And are they sometimes tending to be super patriotic, even more patriotic than resident Indians are? And that's not necessarily always in the right connotation. So a great panel to take us through all of this, starting with somebody who's in the danger of being an NRI himself. So he'll say it. Wonderful to have you with us. Vijay Chahewale is in charge of the Foreign Affairs Department at the BJP. With Prime Minister spent a lot of time reaching out to the NRIs, and we'll be asking you just why. Ajay Shukla is a media commentator who's been having his own love affair, and I'm using that with inverted commas, with certain NRIs in particular. There's a massive fight you're having with a couple of them on social media, so we'll get your take on
exchange of views.
Exchange of views, I guess that's one way of putting it. Chinmay Rahalkar is an NRI banking risk professional, feels that NRIs are doing a lot financially for the country. Mohan Guruswamy, it's always a pleasure, sir, to have you with us right here. Joining us from Silicon Valley, one of the major hubs of NRIs, is Jurajit Sen Mazumdar, who's an IT professional there. He's also West Coast President of Overseas Friends of Bengal. And in just a couple of minutes, we're also being joined by Sarosh Zaiwala, joining us from London, who's senior partner at Zariwala & Co. And we'll be getting his take on what's happening. All right, all of you, let me just start off with the big question. The role of the NRIs in India. I think this is the first time that we seem to be seeing the NRIs so much in the center of discourse, and certainly Mr. Modi's trips are adding to that. Is there a particular reason why Mr. Modi has been making, is the NRI Connect something very major that the BJP is trying to push?
I think both for Mr. Modi as a person as well as BJP as a party have a very long connect with NRI. And as you know, when Modi ji had this visa issue, he still used to connect with NRIs through the video conferences, etc. And a large number of Gujaratis are settled in various countries. That also is one of the factors. But he has always reached beyond Gujaratis and addressed a lot of professional associations, even when he was a chief minister. That is number one. And the second part, BJP as a party also has a lot of connect.
But I'm saying right now, the role that the NRI seem to be playing, and obviously there's a major economic role that they're playing, $70 billion in remittance are coming up. Like in the recent times, if you see some of the attacks that have been coming on Amir Khan for saying, he's contemplating or discussing the possibility of leaving the country, the biggest attacks on him for that have come from NRIs, which is slightly ironic because they've left the country in the first place.
Ironic because people have left India for various reasons, maybe for better prosperity, education, financial welfare, better infrastructure, everything. But I have met hundreds of them, and I have never met anyone yet so far who has left India because he feels unsafe in India. And I hope that exception, there is no exception, and I hope there is no exception even in future, even for the Bollywood star like Amir Khan.
Okay, Sohail.
The NRIs, to my mind, a large part are a self-serving diaspora who believe they have the impunity at times and the prophetic wisdom to advise and guide people in India. The fact is, you have to distinguish between a non-resident Indian, which means a person who still has his Indian passport, and between a person of Indian origin living abroad. I think that distinction needs to be made. You made a very pertinent point about remittances. As of November 15, 2015, the amount of remittance lying in the NRI remittance account was 121, so $121.8 billion. There's been a 55% increase this year over last year, largely because
that's only money lying in that account.
No,
they are sending in large amounts of money every year.
Because a large population works outside. They are actually remitting money back home. A, B. The key question to ask is how many NRIs of a certain size have actually invested in India other than build their home or set up a foundation. There is a tendency for them to be holier than thou and to preach. Now you asked about Modi. Modi, to my mind, is doing one thing sensibly, though I'm not in favor of the descriptor as to how Wembley was created. I think it's important for the NRI, wherever he or she lives, to actually be salutary and plauditory about India. Because he or she may be the first point of reference for anyone other than a non-resident Indian investing in India. People don't want to invest in countries that their own countrymen, disparagingly
Fair enough. I'm going to come to that point a little later. But Mr. Mazumdar, your sense of NRIs, people of Indian origins, the sort of connect that they are having with India right now?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's very, very positive, and probably the one of the, you can probably say that it reaches the peak when, as far as the attachment is concerned. It's like India for us, although it is a very important, it's a very popular proverb, right? You move around the world, you're kind of traveling around the world without moving an inch. So what happened? It's been, as Mr. Vijayji was telling, it's been for ages that Indians has that, that connect with India, and be it like when India won the World Cup and those fanatic supporters, on the Prudential Cup, or those, the people who goes and, cheer for Modi ji in Wembley or Silicon Valley. But now with the kind of a leader that we see, and there is a lot of aspiration going on, and this is the point that came up, when Modi ji was visiting Silicon Valley. We see a lot of aspiration. We see a leader where we are actually the ambassador of India. When every day morning we probably go to a Facebook or a Google, we are, kind of representing India towards, to the world or to the different ethnic people. So now we see a leader to whom we can, kind of connect more, and we can see that, okay, India, which is the concept for us, is kind of an epicenter for our existence, that can, this guy can take this to a different level, and we feel more, ownership on that, helping on that journey.
Okay, I think, Mr. Mazumdar, what you're saying is positive and a fair statement. There is a connect, there is a sense of loyalty, there is a certain sense of patriotism, and you seem to be saying that that's been heightened in recent times, especially obviously as India has done better. Ajay, is that sometimes going too far? It's something that Suhail referred to, which I also did tangentially, that sometimes there is a sense of some elements of the NRI community that they know better and best what is for India, and spend a lot of time lecturing, for lack of a better word, people who are out here, and that sometimes upsets resident Indians who says, you left, you went away, you voted with your feet. Why are you telling us what to do out here? And certainly why are you shouting at us on Twitter on a daily basis saying you should be doing A and you should be doing B? You feel so strongly about it, come back and do something.
I'm going to talk about persons of Indian origin, because they have chosen to go and live abroad. They could be passport holders of a country that is even hostile to India. So the connect to India is entirely something that comes from within them. Now, we cannot possibly, given the millions of Indians that exist in different countries, paint them all with the same brush. There are professors, there are doctors, there are really educated people in the United States.
And many of them being really good ambassadors for India, which is the point that Suhail was referring to.
Ambassadors for India. So you have all of that. Now let's also remember that it was an NRI who the Congress party invited back to India to lead the freedom struggle. His name was Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi.
One of the most prominent NRIs that we've had.
So you can't paint them all with the same brush. But remember that there is, amongst these NRIs, there is a mass of people who have gone to live for economic reasons, who have not been able to adjust properly in the countries that they've gone to. They are sort of caught in between, between the homeland that they left behind and voted with their feet against, and this new country that doesn't quite accept them. They feel like outsiders. Their second generation children are going to be far more assimilated. But these people feel differently. They don't feel the pull of their new country. And when you have somebody like Mr. Modi getting up and sort of reaching out to them, suddenly there's this new sense of purpose, and while they feel inferior in their new country, they certainly feel superior to the unwashed masses that they left behind, namely us. I spoke today to a bunch of people who are working for the BJP. They say that we were invited to work, and then this is a brilliant program by the BJP cells. They said that we were then, our invitation to work was followed up by our incorporation into a data bank. Then we started being sent emails telling us what Modi was doing, and then they started soliciting our views. Now, this was really good for us because, you know, there's nothing that an Indian abroad likes to be asked better than what is required for your country. How can we move your country forward? And then before you know what's what, they're heavily invested in Mr. Modi, and people like us who sort of make even the faintest criticism on Twitter, we're just blown away.
It's not necessarily that those people whom you have now got into the program are not necessarily doing you favors, because when packs and hordes of people are coming, yelling and screaming on Twitter and social media and shouting abuse and trolling people, that actually is exactly proving the point of anybody who's saying there's intolerance. So they're not necessarily, they may say that they are friends of the BJP, but it doesn't always play out that way.
No, see, I would just make one correction in his argument, that Indians staying in India are feeling envy of the NRIs. That's not the case.
No, I never said we feel
more or
envy.
less like that.
No. You got me completely wrong.
What you are saying essentially, that the comparison between the Indians here in
He
India,
said they might be feeling a slight sense of superiority to the unwashed.
But we are not
Indian
envious of
washed
them.
Indian.
Let me assure you.
What is happening
Indians
definitely
aren't necessarily
is that,
envying the NRIs.
No, what is happening definitely is that such events are raising their stature within their own country.
Bang on.
That is very sure.
That's fair enough.
And
I'm sure it's a moment of pride
it's
for
a
them
proud
when they,
pride for them
if they are
because
out
no
there,
other-
they've been ignored a lot of the
no,
time.
ignored.
They've been ignored a lot of the time. India
And lot
hasn't
of-
had a very
yes,
high
yes,
status
yes.
there. Now when
No,
they're
that's
seeing,
the critical point. You know, on the one hand, India has been associated with rape and child
Absolutely.
malnutrition and so on. Now suddenly there's this new image which Modi is
What
is
Modi has
inculcating.
brought is a certain amount of respect and stature to the Indian who was either feeling, as Ajay said, unwanted or part of the unwashed masses.
Okay.
What he's brilliantly done from a marketing point of view is he's built respect for brand India by first making Indians abroad feel wanted because the Prime Minister is going and connecting with you guys. What that will result in monetary terms is separate. But
let
what
me
it will
ask you
result
what's
in
going to
esteem
result in
terms,
monetary
it's
terms.
already
You have a
doing.
strong view on that.
I have strong view on that, but before I come to that, I want to object to a point that he mentioned that Indians feel inferior to other people in the United States, which is, and I'm talking only from United States perspective, it's absolutely not true. Indians are in tremendous position of power. They dominate tech industry, the tech industry in banking sector, and you see CEOs all across. What's happening, why they got more attracted towards Modi is a simple message that Modi went there with the development. He's not talking about anything else, social justice, secularism, this, that. No, he's talking about development. And as a person who came back, I came back last year.
Why did you come back?
It resonated with me on a level where I feel, I mean, when you go to US, there is always question, should I come back? Do I want to come back? And if I come back, do I have opportunities? What Modi is providing them a plan, hopefully that will come to fruition, is you could come back if I get to develop the country. It's not about just US or UK. We are talking about him getting rousing welcome in UAE, which is not necessarily a BJP constituency in any shape or form, right? But he speaks about development, and suddenly the people who, by the way, feel inferior in UAE because they are the considered labor class, unfortunately, and who work hardest, they feel connected and feel kind of assertive that there is somebody looking back, looking after us. And if I come back, there is going to be better opportunity for me to stay back in India.
Well, let me get you in, and then I want to shift
I
focus
don't
a
know
little
about this young man, but I came back from America much before Modi was around. Well before he was around.
So did I, by the way.
And I spent 5 years there. I got a top class 2 degrees from top universities.
Right.
And I had a job there and I came back because, you know, there's a calling of the country. To my country, I wanted to come back to my country. We make a choice. We don't say that, you know, Modi resonated, so I came back. You know, which is neither
No, I
here nor
came
there.
back before he got elected, by the
But
way.
I would like to touch on something what Suhail said. Suhail said they invest 122 million.
Not invest. I said remittances.
Remittance, that's not remittance. Remittance is money which comes every year from your salaries. That's about 71 billion. Out of that, from America, you only get 16.7 billion. Most of it comes from the Middle East, who are daily workers,
Correct.
wage workers. People who don't, for here, people don't have the time of the day for them. You should see how they're treated when they come with their 2-in-1s at the airport
Correct.
and the TV screens, you know. So
But they're the guys who are actually getting the money.
we are and the guys who invested 122 billion, they are on arbitrage. They borrow from American banks where the interest rate is 2 or 3%, and they lend to us at 8%, and they make money on the spread.
You're saying that other than some of the poor NRIs who are going to the Middle East, a lot of the others aren't necessarily altruistically
Absolutely, they're
benefiting
making
from it.
money off us.
That's
they're
why I said
making
yes,
money
yes,
off
yes.
us. And you know, the total remittance for charity from
Zilch.
America for private Indian charity is 1.2 billion. And India is the net exporter of capital to the United States, next exporter of capital to UK. So what are these guys talking about here? They are mostly conduits to take money out from here, and that money, when it comes back, comes back from Singapore and from
It's all
Mauritius.
round-tripped.
Round-tripping around. So you know, the people who
let me
talk,
get-
the people who talk loudest are people who don't put money in India. They make money off India. And I therefore object to them having a place of influence in this country because they're milking us.